Going on, guys? It's another day in the shop. I'll show you guys what we got going. So here we got some drill pipe. If you've never seen drill pipe, it usually has threaded couplings on it like that. And I'm no driller, but they use it for something to do with drilling. It's pretty common in certain parts of Utah here because once it gets wore out, they have to replace it. So you'll see people all over the place that have fence built out of drill pipe or sucker pipe. So what we got to work on tonight is we're going to build a gate out of that drill pipe. And it's just a small man gate. We're just going to 45 the corners, and then about 10 inches down from the top rail, we got to put another rail. They're going to put like hog panels on the bottom section. We are going to have to figure out a hinge and a latch. I think we're going to add our own little touch of creativity to this one. I'm going to go ahead and bring that in and get the measurements all figured out. Throw it in the saw, start 45 in the corners, and we'll go from there. Alright guys, so we got these all cut. Next order of business is going to be to bevel all the pipe. So we'll grab a hard disc, bevel all these, and then we'll start tacking them. So we do have a piece that comes across here 10 inches down from the top rail. I am going to have to cope that by hand. It could be interesting welding this drill pipe. One thing that drill pipe is known for is sometimes it gets magnetic, which always makes it an adventure to weld because it kind of makes your arc wander, which is always fun. So we'll see how this goes. I did notice when I pulled it off the bandsaw, you can still kind of see it here. See how the chips are standing on end. So there's a good chance that this stuff is a little bit magnetic. We'll see how bad it is to weld, but we'll go ahead and start beveling these, roll the welder out, get ready for tacking. We'll go to that point. Alright, we're going to see if we can't get these tacked up. I can't tack them completely because I don't have the hinges yet. I think I'm going to order the hinges. If you watch my channel, you probably see them. There's two sleeves, and then the center piece is just another piece of material the same size as the sleeve, but it's got a grease zerk in it, so you can grease it, and then you just weld a little tab to that center section, and that's your hinge. I like them because you can grease them. They don't lock up as long as you weld the sleeves on right. They're just the preferred method for me whenever I'm building anything like a gate or anything like that out of pipe. Anything that's got a hinge. So that's just my preferred method. What?
Okay, so I hit really hard in practice.
Yeah?
And it was off 50 miles per hour.
You broke your back. Is that your new bat?
No, that's my new bat.
No, yeah.
I hit it so hard and that part, the barrel flew.
Wow. Well,
I get a free one if I exchange it though.
it's under warranty.
I thought you would be like,
Oh, crap. there.
in the video here.
So that's about as far as I can go right now, because I gotta wait for the hinges to slide them down the hinge side and then weld them out. So that's as far as we can get on this tonight. I do have some parts I've got to burn on the burn table, so I'm going to shift gears and see if I can't get this burned. Alright, so our hinges did show up in the mail today. This is what they look like. It's basically just a larger piece of pipe with a grease zerk in it and 2 sleeves. It mounts on the gate like so. You got to gap these just enough so that this can spin, and then the 2 outside sleeves hold this center piece where it needs to stay, and then you weld a piece of material onto this center section which holds the gate. This is just the type of hinge that I prefer. Alright guys, we got these all cleaned up. We got our pipe buffed off here where our hinges are going to go. So I'm going to go ahead and mark those, and then we'll start fitting those up. I do like to put about a 1/16 of an inch gap total between the 2 sides, so a 32nd here and a 32nd here. I like to get that as close as I can. What I'll do is I'll tack this in 4 places on all 4 quarters, and then I'll tack this one, and then I check it. I'll spin it to make sure it still spins, because if it doesn't spin, you're gonna fight it the whole time. So, and then once you pump the grease in, it makes it buttery smooth. Now we're ready to start fitting these. We're going to go ahead and go into time lapse. We'll start welding these out. I did space this one so the top rail is spaced equally between this top hinge. We'll be doing good to get these fit up tonight, and then hopefully tomorrow we'll get it knocked out. Alright, we're going to get after this and see if we can't get these hinges knocked out. Alright guys, next thing I want to show you is how I'm going to cope these. So I got one side coped, you can see. Did that by hand. You can see it fits good in there. I'm going to show you guys one method that you can do this by hand. I'm sure there are other ways, but I want to show you guys how I do it if I don't have a pipe coper. And I actually don't have a pipe coping tool for this size of pipe. Alright, so I've put the pipe in here and leveled off the side of the pipe, so I know that this is level. Now I'm going to hit this to put a mark in, make sure I haven't moved, which I have just a little bit. Okay, so I level that back up. Now I'm going to take my centering head, I'm going to move it down here. I'm going to put it level. Okay, then I'm going to tap this. I'm going to take my soapstone and I'm going to mark that. Now we know where top dead center is. Now we'll go over to the saw and I'll show you guys what we're going to do. Okay, so we got our piece of pipe here in the saw. Now I'm going to take the centering head and I'm going to match it up with our center pop. Now we're going to come down here, and where our mark is, we want to cut it right at the apex of that. So I'm going to check, make sure it's level, make sure it hasn't moved. I'll probably mess with this 3 or 4 times before I get it right. But we'll put it in the saw just like that, and the saw is set at a 45-degree angle. We'll cut this first one, then we got to roll it, we'll cut the other one, and then I'll show you what we got to do after that. So I've 45'd the end of the pipe. So now what I've got to do is I've got to take and mark this. I'm going to mark, and I'm probably going to start with like 5/8, and I'll cut that off on both sides. And then I'll have to take the grinder and dress this up and grind it to the profile of the pipe. So I'll show you guys that after I get these corners cut off. Okay, so now that we've got our corners cut off, you can see that it doesn't sit all the way down in. So all we've got to do now is just feather these corners here with a grinder, and then it should fit in there just right nice. So now I'm going to hit it with a grinding disc, and we'll show you what we got after. So that probably took me, I don't know, that probably took me a total of maybe 5 minutes by the time I went to the saw, came over here, cut the corners off and ground it smooth. I guess it just depends on what your preferred method is, but for something like this, we can whip this kind of joint out pretty quick. So now what we'll do is we'll take our inside measurement. I'm going to add the cope length to that, so I'll add that much more material. And then I'll make sure that I put this in the saw so that my copes are lined up. Cut it. We'll do the same thing we just did. We'll cope the other end, and hopefully it'll slide right in place so that we can go ahead and weld it out. And then we'll bring you back to weld it in. Alright, so we've got this piece cut. We're just getting ready to tack this in. There is just a little bit of gap, but that's okay because we're welding it up with short arc. So we'll be able to fill the gap. Might take us 2 passes, but we'll be all right. Alright guys, we're back out here tonight. We're going to try to get this latch knocked out. So I got a piece of flat bar cut here, and this is where it's going to go. So I'm going to weld this flush, and then I've decided to put a barrel latch on it. If you don't know what that is, basically a piece of pipe or 2 pieces of pipe and then a rod pin in the middle. So it'll make more sense as we go, but we're going to start by getting this welded in place here, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we got this side done. Just to give it a little added strength, I'm going to weld the back side here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, so we got the inside welded out. Now I'm going to roll it back over. I'm going to clean that up first, knock the spatter off. Then I'm going to roll it back over, and we're going to start laying out where we want the barrels for the barrel latch. Alright guys, so we got a bunch of parts cut out here, and I'll show you what I'm thinking. So I built a handle out of 1/2 inch rod. So we've got our 2 barrels and then our pin. The handle's going to come down. I'm going to weld the handle to this rod here. These 2 picking eyes, one of them's going to be welded here, the other one's going to be welded here. That way when it slides shut, he'll be able to put a padlock through that and lock the gate. Now that you guys understand what I'm doing, I'm just going to go through, weld these on, start fitting them, and we'll see if we can't get them welded out. And then once I get it all fit up, I'm going to tack it up first. Once I get it all tacked in place, we'll come back and take a look at it and see how it functions to make sure it's going to function properly. And we'll give you guys a look, so we'll go to that point. Alright, so we've got this all tacked up. I'm going to show you guys what it looks like now. So you can see padlock can go through there. I will weld this solid. It's got a nice handle there. So I think that's going to work out good. It's going to clear just right. So I think, looking at it now, if I move this back barrel, if I move it this way 3/4 of an inch, then when the gate latch is open, it'll be flush with the end of the gate. I think I like that better. So I'm going to cut these tacks, scoot this barrel back 3/4 of an inch, tack it back on, and then I'll test it out one more time and then weld it out. We'll go ahead and do that now, and then once it's welded out, we'll give you guys one more look. Alright guys, we got our latch all welded out, cleaned up. I think it's going to work pretty good. If you don't want kids getting inside where the dogs are or inside where the animals are, then this will keep them out. So it works pretty good. So we'll give you guys one last look at the latch. I think it's going to work good. He'll be able to lock that. So there's one little thing left to do. I know the guy that I'm doing this for, and he didn't ask me to do this. I'm just going to do it because I think he'll really like it. But I'm going to put his brand right here in the center. We're going to take our measurement, which we know it's pretty close to 10 inches, but I'm going to get an exact measurement. We'll go over to the burn table, we'll draft it up, then we'll get that welded in here, and then it will be done. Then all that's left to do is our hinges. We do have a piece of flat bar that we're going to weld to the hinges, so that all we have to do when we get there is hang the gate, tack it in place, check the swing, check the fit. I laid it out on the table, so there should be a 1-inch gap on either side. So we'll go over to the burn table, we'll draft up his brand, we'll get it cut out, weld it in. That one's done. So let's go over there and we'll get that done now. Alright, so hopefully you guys can see this okay. I had some requests about showing how to draft something with this Flash Cut CNC software, so we're going to kind of walk you through it. The object we're going to be drafting is a brand, and when I say a brand, I mean like a brand that you would brand cows with. So his brand is an A+ brand. We're going to draw some text, and we've got to be able to find, I have in my head an idea of what type of font I want. So I'm going to try, oh, that's the one right there. Arial round, that's exactly what I was looking for. You can see how it's kind of rounded. So we're going to click, and with this type of software, if you can see it in this bottom right hand corner, there's a check mark and an X. After you complete an action, you either need to hit the green check mark or the red X. X cancels it, green check mark completes it and locks it in basically. So I'm going to hit the green check mark. Okay, Now I've got to draw another letter. It's more like a symbol. So I'm going to draw the plus sign. I'm going to go back in here. I'm going to draw a plus sign. Okay, and then I'm going to go down to, oh, that's a bummer. Area round is not rounding the corners. That's okay, we can do that. So we're going to go back to aerial round, and I'll show you guys what we're going to do. So we'll click, and then we'll click the green check. Okay, so those are both locked in. So now what I want to do is I'm going to explode these. So you can see if I click it or if I hover my cursor over it, it's all one piece. But to be able to modify it and draft on it, you have to explode it. So there's a logo up here, a little symbol, and it is explode. So we're going to click explode. We're going to click on that, and then we're going to hit the check mark. It says right click to confirm. Then we're going to click the green check. Okay, and now it's exploded. Now you can see it's basically just built out of lines that we can modify. That's exactly what we want. So we'll do the same thing here. So we're going to click the explode icon, right click. Now we're going to hit the green check. Okay, and there we have it. Okay, so now we're going to take this, and this part operates a lot like AutoCAD. So there's a highlight box, so we highlight it, and then the other cool thing is on the keyboard, each key is a command. So if you look on the screen, I want to move this. And so if I want to move it, oh, there we go. So there it is right there. Bridger just found it. It's right there. And the other cool thing is if you hover over one of these logos, it'll tell you what they are. So that one says scale. That's the shape tool. Okay. So that's another handy thing with this program. Okay. So this is how you move it. Highlight it. Hit M. And now I want to select the center. Now there's a bunch of logos on here that'll show you all these snap points and 90-degree angle and 45s. It's got all kinds of stuff you can do there, but it'll snap to the center of this line. So I'll just go ahead, click on the center of that. See? So now I've got a hold of it and I can move it wherever I want. So now I want to go in, I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm just using the roller on my mouse to zoom in. And then I want to get center of this A. You can see there's a dotted blue line. So it's going to snap to the center of that A. So if I just touch it and then go up, that's 90. You can see that it's snapped it right to the A. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is zoom in here so I can get a good look at what I'm doing. Now I'm going to use the extend tool, and that's this one right here. So I'm going to click extend. And I really like the way this works. You can see if I just hover the cursor over that line, a blue line pops up, that blue dotted line, and then all I've got to do is click it and it extends it. So it kind of almost predicts what you're going to do. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing over here. So that's done. So now I'm going to click the green check mark so it's locked in. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is trim. Now trim is right here. And the command is T, so you can either hit T enter or click trim. So I click that, and now all I have to do is zoom in here, and I'm going to get close to this vertical line, and I'm going to click right there, and it's going to cut that line off. Can you see that, hopefully? So then I'm going to come back over here, I'm going to do the same thing to this side. You can see how it highlights it in red, it's dotted red. Click that, and it trims it. I'm going to do the same thing here, trim it. Trim it. Okay, so now that that's trimmed and it's not attached, so now I'm going to highlight that. Okay, and then I'm going to hit delete. Bam. And now we have his brand. Okay, so now because I'm anal, because the bottom of the A is rounded, I want to round these as well. Okay. So what I'm going to do, there's a couple different ways you could do it. You could draw a circle right here and make that the center, or we can take and measure this. So it's 0.1714. What I want to do is I want to get the radius. So it snaps to the center, so .0857. So now I'm going to take the fillet tool or corner tool, and it's going to ask me for, I want to fillet, it's going to ask me for the radius. So now I'm going to type in the radius, and it obviously that's not right. So if I go to this window and I type in what the correct one is, .0857. Okay, so you can see it's filleted the corner. Now I'm going to fillet this one. I think I got to confirm it. So I confirm it. Now I'm going to do the same thing here. Confirm it. Bam. So there's different ways that you can do the same task. It just depends on what you feel is the fastest and what you're best at. So you'll learn little ways to cut corners and stuff like that. A lot of that I learned from running AutoCAD and doing drafting and stuff like that on a computer. So now that it's locked in, now that this command is locked in with that radius, all I've got to do is click, enter. Click, enter. Click, enter. Click, enter. There you go. So now we have his brand all done. We're going to cut that out of 1/8 inch plate. So the last thing we need to do is we need to make sure from the top of the plus sign to the bottom of the A is 10 inches. So to do that, I need to scale this. So I'm going to highlight this, and then I'm going to click the scale button. We'll highlight it, click scale, snap it to the apex of that, and then you can see you click a second point, and then if I drag it, it's going to scale it up. Okay, so I'm still trying to figure out how I can scale this to a certain measurement, and I haven't figured it out yet, but I will. And when I do, I'll give you guys an update. But this is how you can do it if you don't know how to just type in a measurement. You know, I want to be able to highlight it and scale it to exactly 10 inches. And I know there's a way you can do it. I just don't know how you... I think I just figured it out. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So what I did is I highlighted it, and then if you look in this bottom corner here, there's an X and a Y, and it shows a dimension here. So basically what I did is I typed in 10 inches, which stretched it. Hopefully you guys saw that. And it says it's 598.01% of original of what I drew it. So I just matched the top one, the width, to 598.01, and then it matched it. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so now if I check my measurement, it should be 10 inches. So we'll snap there. Distance 10 inches. Bam! Okay, that's perfect. That's what we wanted. Okay, so now the way this software works, you've got up at the top here, you got CAD, CAM, and CNC. So now that we've drafted it, we're ready to go. I am going to highlight it, and then I'm going to click group. Or you can hit G, but I'm just going to click group. So that makes the whole thing one item again. So now I'm ready to go to CAM, so I hit this arrow. Okay, this is the other cool thing. So it says system found in open geometry or marking geometry that will not be included in the toolpath. So one thing that you can do, oh wow, look at that. Okay, so we're going to go back to CAD. Okay, so there's obviously an issue here. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to highlight this, and this program has a fixed drawing button. Click fixed drawing and then search for issues. And then it marks where the issue is. So then you can either fix it yourself or hit fix all, which I hit fix all. Okay, so now I'm going to hit it again to double check. Search for issues, no issues found. So now I'm going to go back to CAM. Okay, obviously we got to move this. Okay, so this here is the corner of your X and Y. So 0's right here in the intersection. Okay, and then it will show you your lead ins and lead outs. This is a lead in. You can adjust these if you want by clicking them and adjusting them, but we don't need to. Okay, so we know we're good there. Everything looks good there. That's exactly what we want it to cut. So now we're ready to set it up on the plate. So now I'm going to go to CNC. You can see now it's created a cut path. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to jog the machine. I'm going to jog the machine to where I want the corner of the brand to be. So we're gonna say that is gonna be our 0. So now I've got to 0 the machine. So I'm gonna set my 0 for the program there. So up here in the top right, I'm gonna 0 all. Okay, so that's where the program's zeroed. Now I need to 0 the machine. So I'm gonna jog kind of down and left. Okay, so this turquoise square is called the machine envelope. So you can see it's larger than the part I'm cutting. Okay, so here's our part. The cut quality was not fantastic on that because I still had it set on 3/8 plate. So I'm still figuring this out, alright? So we're going to go over there and clean all the dross off, and there is a fair amount of dross. We'll go over, clean this up, and then we'll weld it in. So the only thing that's left to do is we're going to try and go over tomorrow and get this welded on. Once the flat bar's welded on, it's ready to go. So we're going to try and do that tomorrow, and we'll try to get some video of it so you guys can see the true finished product. So we're going to go inside and eat, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow. Alright guys, it's probably a little bit noisy because we got kind of a noisy road right here, but what we've got going is we've set the gate in place. We've got it shimmed up off the concrete. It's perfectly level right now. We're just figuring out where we've got to grind this pipe so that we can get it all prepped up for our welds. And where it is right now, I'm just going to go ahead and mark that with soapstone, grind it clean, and then we'll be ready to tack it and check the swing on it, make sure everything works out, and then we'll go from there. Okay guys, got this all welded out. Pretty happy with how everything turned out. The gap is nice and even. Okay, so I just wanted to give you guys a look at the finished product. Got the mesh welded in, and then I got the latch put up, welded out. So that's the finished product. Appreciate you guys watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. And we'll see you on the next one. They're just the preferred method that I use. They're just the preferred method for me when I'm building anything out of. They're just the preferred method for me when I'm building anything out of pipe. They're just the preferred method for me if I'm building it. There's a couple different ways that you can coat pipe. So now what I've got to do is I've got to take and mark this. After you complete an action like we just did, you've either got to hit the can't talk tonight. This is frustrating. Okay, so here's our part.